how often can you actually become present with your breath? Can you become present with your breath when you're arguing with your lover? Can you become present with your breath when there's an emergency going on? Or can you become present with your breath when you're in flow state or whatever you're doing? And so I think the best practice is developing a relationship to your breath throughout your day, because you are what you repeatedly do. You're not what you do sometimes.
Is there such thing as doing too much breath work, and can that be detrimental to your health?
So it's interesting because we are breathing all the time, and it's one of the only body rhythms that we do both consciously and unconsciously. It is the bridge between our conscious and unconscious mind and body, our soma and psyche. And so it depends on our definition of what breath work is, because you can utilize different breathing patterns to change the state of your nervous system at any time. You're not taught that in school. We're not taught that in school, that we can actually change the state of our electrical system, our nervous system, energy system, chakra system, whatever language you want to put on it. You can change your state at any time with your breath. And so there are beneficial practices that you can do on a day-to-day level. But, a lot of people ask me, what's the most beneficial daily practice to do? And it's not, a 15-minute practice in the morning, or a 10-minute practice, or an hour-long practice every day or once a week. But it truly is, can you become aware of your breath? Like how often can you make your breath conscious? Because it's the choice. We can be conscious of it, and we can take a breath in right now. Or we're going to continue doing this podcast and we don't have to think about it.
Right.
But how often can you actually become present with your breath? Can you become present with your breath when you're arguing with your lover? Can you become present with your breath when there's an emergency going on? Or can you become present with your breath when you're in flow state or whatever you're doing? And so I think the best practice is developing a relationship to your breath throughout your day, because you are what you repeatedly do. You're not what you do sometimes. And so having that choice throughout the day, developing that relationship and being able to change our state and bring ourselves back to presence, that's more of a beneficial practice than and we can talk about, okay, there's a good 10-minute practice, there's a good 15,
right.
But
so you're talking about the day-to-day awareness is more important than the practice of, I'm going to sit down and do this breath work on an app. You're saying more important is this awareness. How am I breathing in this situation? And which naturally, and ironically, I'm asking this question, how should we be breathing in general?
Yeah. So there's a lot of dogma within the breathwork space. There's a lot of different,
like everything,
like everything.
Yeah.
You should same with diet, right? You should only be eating this. You should only be eating this. Yeah. And it's my goal was to strip it of its dogma and just, because all of the different breathwork techniques, I feel like, are beneficial for different things. You just need to kind of understand what the goal is that they're trying to do on a physiological level. And so a baseline rule that you can apply to any breathwork technique is, if you are elongating your exhales, then you are sending yourself into a parasympathetic state. If you are elongating your inhales, you're sending yourself into a sympathetic state. And neither of those are bad or good. It just depends on what the goal is. Because when it comes to my nervous system, nervous system regulation is not, can I maintain a state of calm? It's, can I maintain a state of choice? Can I turn it on fully?
Yeah.
And then can I shut it off? And so our ability to turn it on and turn it off, we need to have choice around that, because a lot of the times we get stuck in sympathetic or we get stuck in parasympathetic. And so we can utilize those different breathing techniques to kind of shift our state, to expand our nervous system, would say resilience in a way. But along with that, there's, a lot of dogma around, should I be breathing through the mouth? Should I be breathing through the nose? And it's you have a nose for a reason. If we didn't have a nose, we'd just be breathing through our mouth. So you should be nasal breathing most of the time. Your nose naturally elongates your breath. And so if you taking that rule, it's like if you're breathing through your nose, you're naturally elongating your inhales and exhales, and you're naturally going to spend most of your life in a parasympathetic state. Your nose also provides a lot of filtration of bacteria and viruses, and it's producing nitric oxide within your system, and there's so many intelligent processes that are going through your nose. That being said, you can utilize mouth breathing to go deeper into a sympathetic state. And so there's benefits to that we can get into, but you should be breathing elongated exhales through your nose most of the time throughout your day.
It makes sense how intelligent the body is at creating more parasympathetic relaxation.
Right.
But for one reason or another, we see a lot of mouth breathing.
Yeah.
And a lot of those people are breathing through their neck. Their scalenes are really
secondary
tight.
Respiratory muscles.
Yeah, you just see that and you're like, whoa, you can tell who's even breathing through their mouth most of the day. But it makes sense too when we're running away from a lion and we found safety. We're like,
exactly.
Right? We're really gasping and sucking in all that air. So during the day, let's say we're checking in on our breath and we're like, yo, I'm mouth breathing all day. I can't believe this. Now people are going to be like, now I'm bringing more awareness to it. But let's say you're at work and something goes down and you're piled up with all of these deadlines out of nowhere and you're stressed. Is there a technique we can do right then and there? What is something we can do when we're extra stressed in that moment when it comes to breathing? Is it taking a few breaths in and then long breaths out, or relaxing parts of the body? What works for you?
Yeah, so let me ask you a question right now. If you were super stressed right now, which you feel very relaxed, and I said, hey, just chill out a little bit. Just calm down. Like, how would your body respond to that?
It would go down. It would just like my shoulders would go down. Like my muscles would drop. Yeah,
But the general population, if they're stressed and you tell them to chill out, they're going to be like,
what do I do?
What the fuck? Like what?
Yeah. A pause on this episode to talk to you about something very important, and that is sleep. One of the biggest pillars to health. 70 million Americans have chronic sleep issues, and about 50% of us deal with sleep deprivation. You probably dealt with it at some point in your life, and you know how it feels. You're groggy, you're brain fogged, your energy is slow, you're kind of dragging. One of my favorite brands, really ever, Ned, is here to help, and they have an incredible new product. It's called Shut-Eye Chai. It's inspired by 5,000 years of ancient healing tradition and is Ned's biggest product launch to date. Now, what is it? It's a mellow super blend latte, and it's for sleep, and it combines adaptogens, aminos, functional mushrooms, and magnesium, and it's wrapped around a heavenly masala chai-inspired spice body. So it tastes good, but you get all of these therapeutic ingredients. And it just doesn't set you up for an amazing sleep. Ingredients like chaga, reishi, ashwagandha, they're deeply nourishing to your body, so you're getting a ton of additional benefits. Shut-Eye Chai can help calm your nervous system, nourish your senses, and drift you off peacefully into that dreamland state that we kind of all wish for, to wake up rejuvenated. It's all natural. It's made of functional botanicals, fungi, herbs, plants, minerals, roots, and spices. What I love about Ned is that they share all of their third-party lab reports, all the way from who farms their products, all the way up till the extraction process. I make this drink, I make it warm, I mix it with almond milk, and there you go. So I want you to check it out. Go to helloned.com/DRG. Enter the code DRG at checkout. That's HELLONED.com/DRG. Get 15% off and the sweetest of dreams. When it comes to health, you really have to focus on the majors, especially when it comes to the physical health. And the priorities are always going to be on the physical side: healthy eating, exercise, sleep, above all, one of the most important ones, right? How many of you have poor quality sleep, try to eat healthy the next day, but feel like crap? Now, one interesting fact to mention about sleep is that drinking more than 2 servings of alcohol per day for men and more than 1 serving of alcohol per day for women can actually decrease your sleep quality by 39.2%. You know, like when you drink and then you go home and you pass out, that doesn't mean you're getting quality sleep. On the contrary, you're not hardly getting any deep, restful sleep at all. And sleep is the key for the body's rejuvenation and repair process. It controls the hunger, the weight loss hormones, boosts your energy levels, impacts other countless vital functions. A good night's sleep will improve your overall well-being. You know this. You feel good when you sleep. You want to climb a tree. You want to throw a boulder across the river. You feel good. This is why I recommend taking magnesium. 70% of us are going to be deficient in magnesium. It is one of the most important minerals you need to be taking amongst all of them, but really one of the most deficient ones. Magnesium Breakthrough by Biooptimizers is my favorite magnesium out there. They have all 7 forms of magnesium. I've been taking it for years now, and it's designed to help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up refreshed. The sleep benefits are truly remarkable. I want you to go visit magbreakthrough.com/DRG and enter the code DRG10 for 10% off of any order. The special offer is only available at magbreakthrough.com/DRG.
So most people have a defense against that. Like, it's very hard for them to relax. So what I would say, and this is kind of my principle on everything, because it comes from principles of polarity and duality. We live in a duality, and so we need both sides. And a lot of the times when people are stressed, we need to actually take it a little bit further into the stress state. And that will allow them to drop deeper into a parasympathetic state. Before we got on here, you were like, I just got done boxing.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're activating your system.
Mm.
You probably can relax so much better after you've had a boxing session. I can always relax so much better when I've pushed myself physically.
Yeah.
And so if someone's in a stress state, usually they're in this chronic low hum nervous system state where it's like, what I would say is, let's actually go a little bit deeper into that. Let's actually go a little bit deeper and let the body complete the necessary action that it needs to do. And that will send a signal to your nervous system that you're not in the presence of whatever this stressor is anymore. And you can then have access to a deeper state of relaxation. So I would, my daily practice, or if I'm in a stress state, is I will actually breathe in a way that I'm mimicking a stress state. So I'll do 30 breaths in and out of the mouth, like deep as I can, like really charge myself up. I'll do 1 breath hold, and then I'll do 30 breaths slow as I can, elongate my exhale in and out of the nose. And that will, since you spiked yourself a little bit further than where you were at, you will have access to such a deeper relaxed state. Because most people are living in this narrow window of existence of chronic stress, narrow window of existence of emotional capacity. Like, we cut ourselves off from feeling a lot of the lows. Therefore, we cut ourselves off from feeling the highs. And if I don't allow myself to go there, I won't allow myself to go to the top as well. It's a living death. It's a flat line. Like, what is a flat line but a living death?
But a living death, yeah. What an easy practice, right? Because most of us don't even know how stressed we are.
Yeah.
And we're living on that flat line. So we're just like, this is me. I'm in that hum, like you said. But just like you said with the boxing, right? When I'm out putting all this energy, I come back and I'm like, I'm just sitting on my couch and I'm just relaxing a little bit. I'm like, grounding myself. It's so much deeper.
Yeah.
So really activating the nervous system, you're saying, is part of the key.
Yeah.
A little bit further. Now, you said when the nervous system can't fully express that in the moment, do we stop ourselves from fully expressing that activation of our nervous system, our sympathetic, and we're just living in this hum, like you said?
Yeah, absolutely. So most of us, from societal impressions, parental impressions, schooling, people, teachers telling us to shut up, sit down, sit in a chair for 8 hours a day, limiting our expression, we have learned to hold it in, suppress, tighten up. And so what's interesting is that we live in such a mentally dominant world, where we look at everything under a microscope, and we've labeled the mind as our king, and we've forgotten the intelligence of our body. Mm-hmm. Your mind can't even fathom the intelligence of what it takes to repair on a cellular level or digest your food. And so if we look at the intelligence of our body, and we look at something like children, something happens, stressful happens to a child, they immediately start throwing a temper tantrum. They immediately know that they need to get it out. They need to move it through them. They need to express it in some sort of way, because that act of expression is a signal to your nervous system that you're not in the presence of a stressor anymore. Yeah. And so most of us, we've rationalized whatever stressful or traumatic thing that's gone on for us. We've ran through the story and we rationalize it in our head, but that doesn't mean that our body is not still in the presence of a tiger. Like most of us, we got a tiger chilling right here. Yeah. And our body still feels like it's in the presence of it. And so we can work with the story as much as we want to, but allowing the body to have that expression. And the key to that is healthy expression too, because it's not like we can just be in the middle of a grocery store and start yelling and screaming.
Right.
But we've weeded out all of our traditional ceremonial ways of expression, singing, dancing, crying together, screaming, yelling. We've eliminated all of the spaces for safe expression and acceptance for whatever we need to move through, and not being labeled as it's bad or this is good. Like it's just a place where we can move it through our body. We've bypassed our nature, and we are sitting in the intelligence of thousands of years of evolutionary biology. Like you are not just your chronological age. Yeah. However old you are ancient, because you came out of your mom and they came out of her mom and so on and so on and so on. And it's taken thousands of years to develop this very intelligent nervous system that has certain biological rules that we've weeded out of our culture because we've become mentally dominant. That's why I feel like we're seeing such a popularization of these somatic practices.
Right. Because in many ways, it's a ceremonial stoppage to coming back to us. And, it's funny that you say this. I was away in Big Bear this past weekend, group of friends, right? And we were just hanging out and there was some music. I was dancing. Some people were dancing, not really. Yeah. And then one of our friends let us do this dance where we just had to sort of like ecstatically move. We start with like our elbows and that's leading, and then our hips. And it was really nice because it started loosening people up. Mm-hmm. And then like while one friend and her friend started breathing together and dancing together, and like, but they were like doing this like, and I was like, whoa, this is like super tribal. So I got called to come around them and just stomp like a tribal man, sort of like encouraging more of that. And then my friend came, and then my other friend came, and I know this is weird. Next thing I know, we're like in a circle around them and they're breathing and we're breathing with them. And at the beginning, it started off as a joke, but through the process, I was like, holy shit, this is like super, powerful and reminiscent of something in my body that like is needed and we used to do. Yeah. We held a space for all of us to hold a space for these two powerful women just breathing together and dancing together. And it was like this arising of like all of our nervous systems. It was so sympathetic dominant because we're like, and then it was just like, all of us at the same time just felt so calm. Mm-hmm. And you're saying this and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, we lost that.
We lost it.
We lost that, man. Like in Austin, we should be outside for a little and do a ceremonial thing, put a fire and just do this dancing and yelling. And why, what is it in society? Is it those rules that you cannot be, do, say, or have this version of you that is so expressive? Are we scared of that? Do we want to suppress that because we want to control you? What is happening that we're seeing so much of that where we completely lost ourselves?
That's a really good question, brother. Personally, I think that there is a control aspect in that. Your nervous system is an antenna, and the state of your antenna is going to be what you're picking up on mentally. Like we haven't been able to measure, okay, where is our mind actually happening? Is it happening in between your ears, in between your eyes, your frontal lobe, your prefrontal cortex? Where is it actually happening? And how come we pick up on thoughts and we can complete each other's sentences and all of that? It's because the state of your nervous system, if you are in a contracted state, you're going to be picking up on contracted ideas. If you want to think expansively, well, you need to feel expansive in your body. And so I think that people in power have understood this for a long time. Religions, governments, that if I can keep you in a state of fear, if I can keep you in a state of guilt, shame, if I can keep you in an animalistic, contracted state, well, you're not going to be able to think clearly. You're going to be, running to the store and buying all the toilet paper like that has anything to do with your physical survival whatsoever.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And
you make predictable moves, and when you make predictable moves, you become a lot more controllable.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's sort of why it came to me when I said control, because I was like, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Because the person who's expansive in their body is expansive in their thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
and expansive in their ideas,
Yeah.
revolutionary in their ideas, right?
Yeah.
Changes paradigm shifts, changes systems. Those people are dangerous, man, right?
Yeah.
And it's about, so would you say that coming back to your body is one of the most powerful things we can do for not only ourselves, but everyone around us?
Absolutely. I had someone interview me the other day that asked, do you believe there's like a war against your spirit, your soul? And it took me a moment to like really tune into that. And I'm like, I'm not so far off on that end where I'm like, I think there's a spiritual battle going on and this and that. But I do really believe that there's a battle, there's a war going on against our body. If you look at the corporatocracies, the people who are controlling our food, makeup, women, you need to be wearing these certain clothes. Men, you need to be an entrepreneur and hustling and grinding and taking steroids or whatever it is. There's a war against your body because the body is the temple, and the temple is where you worship. The temple is where the body is where you have had every sort of spiritual experience. The body is where you've had every sort of experience of love or truth or pain.
Yeah.
And so I do feel like there is a battle against our body because the body is where we experience spirit right here, right now.
Mm-hmm. In the now moment. And we think about how much damage we do to our bodies in the name of this is normal, in the name of, like you said, this is what they sell at the supermarket, must be safe, I'll eat it, right? It can't be that bad, how unconscious we are. I'm going to drink this alcohol on this weekend over and over and over without knowing how much you're hurting yourself. So to me, so much that is being standard Americanized is just that. It's a atomic bomb to the body over and over and over. And maybe, I mean, it's worth the question asking, is it for a reason? And it seems to you and me, there might be a reason why. Because again, someone who's healthy and expansive in their body, holistic, the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual self is in alignment. That's a powerful, powerful man or woman, person in general.
My personal belief is a person that is deeply connected to their body, deeply connected to their own internal innate processes, knows how to develop a nervous system sovereignty for themselves, knows how to control their state. If you master your physical body, the state of your physical body, you're going to be that closer to mastering your emotional body. You're going to be that much closer to mastering your mind. And for me, that creates more free will. Now we could go down a philosophical sort of discussion on free will versus fate, but most people that are stuck in a contracted, wounded state physically, they get triggered very easily. Something happens, they have a reaction right away. There's no space in between stimulus and response because those unconscious patterns, those defense systems are embedded within them. And so when something happens, there's an immediate trigger, and that immediate trigger is not a free will, it's a fate. And so if you look at the people that are stuck in a contracted state, which is oftentimes is not their fault, it is societal conditioning in a way, like we can go down that route too. But those people's lives are created for them.
Yeah.
It starts to because you're making decisions from that defense state. You're making decisions from that wounded state. You're actually not able to make conscious, clear decisions because you're reacting from that. What does a wounded animal do when it's in the presence of anybody? Even if I were to give it food, it's going to attack me.
Yeah, yeah.
And so most of us are in that wounded animal state. And so we're reactive. Therefore, our decisions in our life start to get made for us. And then we look back, why do I keep creating this reality for myself? Why do I keep getting in these relationships? Why? Well, it's look at the body. When you're having trouble with the mind, go to the body.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. You think about the wounded animal in so many ways is like you said, us. And there's predictable decisions and behaviors we make from our wounded states. I actually think so much of the world is the way it is because we're just wounded and unconscious that we're wounded.
Right.
And coming back and understanding, hold on, I'm actually a wounded man. And of course it makes sense why I keep getting into these relationships, or why I keep doing this at work, or having these fallouts with these people, or attracting the same situation over and over. It's really empowering moment when you stop and go, whoa, hold on, this is me. This is me.
Yeah.
It's me. So with all the love to people who have gone through whatever they went through as a kid and went into that wounded state and just reactive and reactive and reactive, what's the best way to create space? Just space for that first time to go, whoa, I almost reacted, but now I have some awareness around this, and now I can make a new decision. How do we encourage people to make new decisions with this?
There are a couple different things there. First off, the awareness is the biggest part. You can't work on anything without becoming aware of it. And so just like, let's look at body work first, just purely on a physical level. Like, I utilize body work. I just go get a full body massage. Doesn't have to be anything special, just to become aware of myself, just to develop awareness of myself. Having someone's hands on me, working in different parts of my body, I start to occupy those parts of my body. It's like if I'm working on you and I press on your hip and you're like, oh shit, it's tender over there. You weren't even aware of that tender spot over there. Most of us aren't even occupying our body. And so if you look at breath work, specifically the type of breath work that I use, it's the same thing, but on an emotional level. Like, it allows you to become aware of those feelings that you haven't been letting yourself feel. And so awareness is the first part of half the battle. And so from there, once you start to become aware and you occupy it, then it becomes about finding healthy outlets to move it through you. And most of our defense responses, most of our traumas, most of these wounds that we have, these defense systems, they were adaptive at some point in our life. They probably helped us. And so that's another part. It's like, once you're aware of it, the way that you relate to it is, you don't need to necessarily fix it or get hard on yourself, because we end up putting the most amount of pressure on ourselves. Like, why am I this way? Or I become aware of I really haven't let myself feel angry. And then maybe I get harder on myself because of that.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, can I become aware of that? And can I see that which part of my life that was actually an intelligent response? When I was young, I didn't have a safe space to actually let myself feel that. When I was young, I was co-regulating with parents that were drug addicts and were absolutely dysregulated all the time. And so that made me want to leave the house and go play with the neighbors and avoid every confrontation in my life. And that was probably the smartest thing. That was probably the most intelligent thing that my little boy knew how to do. But now in my life, I'm older, and that adaptive pattern can become the thing that blocks me later on down the line. So it's a little bit of becoming aware of it, honoring the intelligent part of it, and knowing that it's probably serving you in some sort of capacity right now, but it's become maladaptive. And from that place, that will start to create more space when you have other stressful things happen to you. For me, I look at stress and trauma. They're very similar in a way. They're out, like, our definition, most of us think that trauma is this outside thing that's coming at us. But it's not the outside force. It's what's happening inside of us based on the outside force. And what's happening inside of us is that intelligent response. And so what trauma and stress is, it's a question to our being. Stress is the number one killer, but it's also the number one thing that causes growth. And so when we go through something stressful, it's a question to our biology. What's the new adaptive pattern? What's the new way to relate to this? How do I overcome it? And when I find that new adaptive pattern, when I develop that new adaptive pattern, that creates growth. And therefore, and from that place, a lot of the times we're communal beings. And so the shit that we've gone through and the stuff that we've overcome, the new adaptive patterns that we've learned, there's an innate drive inside of us to go share that with our children,
Right.
to go share that with our community. And that's most of the time where people find their deepest purpose, is where people have had their deepest pain, because it's not something that they've read about in a book. It's something that they've experienced it. They've overcome it. They understand it. Even if you look at the etymology of the word understand, it's to stand underneath it and hold it up, because I've been there and I've walked it. Now I can go, now I have something of value to go share with my community, share with my tribe. And a lot of times we find deep purpose in that.
That's powerful stuff, man, because it's so true. It's so true. Every single person who I've met that is in some sort of purposeful servitude to people, right, and giving what their experience has been, always is underlying some sort of traumatic pain. Something, a death, a divorce, a accident. Joe Dispenza talking about how he was in an accident and he was in a hospital bed and it was a motorcycle accident or something. And all of us, man. And this is why we can be victims of that pain, or we can see it in a new light, with stress as sort of like the most sacred indicator in our body. If we live in stress and we're just like, oh, my boss this, and now I got to red light this, and I got to go here, and oh, my life. But it's also, like you said, the opportunity to use that stress for growth. I love sleep. I love a good quality bed, and Birch mattress is my favorite. It's a partner I've been working with for quite some time, really around the beginning of the show, and they make mattresses that are crafted with organic and natural materials, and they're sustainably sourced. These are all the things that you want to check off on your list. Their mattresses are free of all those nasty chemicals that off-gas, one of them being polyurethane. You know those Tempur-Pedic mattresses that feel so comfortable? They actually are off-gassing really nasty chemicals. Polyurethane foams are off-gassing something called fiberglass. Fiberglass is harmful for your lung health, all your respiratory health, your immune health, your hormones. It's going to affect your body, increasing inflammation throughout. You don't want to be sleeping on this every single day, getting a low dose of nasties every single day, every single night for the life of the bed. So when it comes to Birch, you're getting a quality mattress, a high quality mattress that actually has one of the most important certifications you need for a mattress, and that's the Green Guard Gold Certified certification. This is telling us that not only fiberglass or polyurethane isn't in there, but all the other nasty chemicals that they off-gas, of which you're breathing in. When it comes to Birch, I love it. I've had it for about 2 years now, more than 2 years. I love it. I sleep well. It's comfortable. I feel like I'm sleeping on a cloud. With Birch mattress, you're going to get a 100-night sleep trial along with a 25-year warranty. The best part is Birch delivers your mattress right to your door, free within the United States. And they also offer in-home setup and removal to make that experience as easy as possible. If you're looking for a new bed, check out Birch Living. Go to birchliving.com/healthyself. You get 20% off of a Birch mattress and 2 free Eco Rest pillows. Super comfortable. How do people just take that first step? Is it noticing where we hold stress in the body and what it feels like? How do people just even, because people don't even know they're stressed at this point because the body has adapted to the chronic state of stress.
It's become the new normal for them.
It's become the new normal. So what are some things you may tell your practitioners or clients that say, hey, here's some things to look out right now, just right in your body to know that you're stressed?
A lot of the times I believe that we actually need help from another person. Most of the time we need help from another person. There's, there is sort of a facade in the self-help realm. Like, I don't think that there's actually anything such as self-help. We need each other. We're communal beings. We're relational beings. And a lot of the times we need the other person to help become a mirror for ourselves, whether it's through body work, whether it's through breath work. It is because most of our stressors don't just happen when we're alone. They happen from other people. They happen from our community. And so a lot of the times, like Bessel van der Kolk in Body Keeps the Score, one of his most famous quotes is, healing happens in the presence of an empathetic witness. And so it's asking for help. and finding people that can help you.
Yeah.
Now you can do different body scans and different like I can share a somatic awareness practice that's really powerful, and it takes time, but it's a lot easier to get help from somebody else.
Right.
Because they will provide a mirror. They will provide a mirror for you.
It's the co-regulation.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes the dysregulation is from another.
100%.
Right. So it stands to believe that
you could feel absolutely enlightened just by yourself meditating, and then go get in a relationship
right.
and all your shit comes out. Or go spend a week with your family.
Right. And then you're like, oh, I'm dysregulated again. I thought I healed it all.
Right.
Yeah. So you're saying the gift is through people. Through
people.
And the beauty of it is it brings people back to the community. It brings people back to communal healing, which is essentially everything, right? Like I do my group events, and there is a blanket of consciousness, right? It's just like a crescendo all together, and everyone's going through something together, right? And you just feel there's way more openness than, say, if I had like just one person or two people in front of me. Everything is more activated and emphasized. And I think it's because people feel that safety.
Absolutely.
Like, whoa, and when I got here, I didn't know who you were. And I didn't know who this person next to me was. And my ego said, that person over there across from me ain't safe. Right? Because they remind me of someone. I don't know. There's something about that person. But then when you go through this process and you feel safe with everyone else, ultimately you're safe with yourself. Is this your experience?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you can tell if your nervous system's in a contracted state or in a state of fear. Next time you walk into a room where there's people that you might not know, because your nervous system is the main function of your nervous system is actually communication. And communication is a two-way street. You have an electrical bubble around you. That is your nervous system is your electrical system. You have an electrical bubble around you. Some people might call it your aura. You can feel when people are behind you. Or you can feel when you're in a bubble with somebody that's like, oh, this feels really good. Or you can feel like, I don't really want to spend a lot of time in this bubble. Right. And so your nervous system is scanning the environment. And the primary reason for that is to keep you alive, for safety. That's like a massive part of it. But most of us in our world, we're not necessarily having to traverse situations for our life and death at this moment. But you can, like, next time you walk into a room full of people, notice if your system is scanning the environment for threats, for judgment, for, oh, I feel like this person's looking at me. You can tell if your system's in a contracted state by walking into a room and feeling, okay, I feel like everyone's out to attack me. And a lot of people are stuck in that. But to answer your question, I do believe that, like, it is like, why do we do this work to begin with? It is for relationships. It is for community. Isolation is the number one disease. All parts of our body, when something happens to our body, all parts are affected and all parts are connected. The same thing goes with humanity. There is a trauma that happens with technology, our phone right here, where just recently we're able to see some of the absolute terrible things that are going on the other side of the world. Like, we can pick up our phone and we can see tragedies going on in China, or tragedies going on in Australia, or wherever it is. And every cell in your body knows that you're intrinsically connected to all life. Every cell in your body knows that if I dump poison in a river 100 miles away, eventually that water will make up the water in the body of my children. So there's an innate knowing on a biological level that your body knows that, oh, that's happening over there, but it's actually happening inside of me and it's affecting me. But we're trained to dissociate. We're trained to disconnect. Like, that's happening over there. It's not happening over here. And I don't know if there's much I can do right now. And so when we are in this space where we're either holding space or we're in a group healing container in a way, we start to realize that how similar we actually are beyond our upbringings, beyond our race, beyond our color. We're all human. We all speak the language of emotion. We all speak the language of the nervous system. And that gives permission for other people to be fully human. Like, that's the biggest thing that I see is how, like, creating a space where how human can you be?
Yeah.
Especially with the advent of all this AI, and it's taking over different jobs and doing so many things that better than humans can do. I think the question that we're being asked is, what does it mean to actually be human? That's to be in spaces of relation, be in spaces of ceremony, be in spaces of emotional healing.
Yeah, that vulnerability, the authentic expression.
The authentic expression.
And that's the most beautiful part is when I'm doing a session on someone.
Yeah.
And they come in and there's 10 masks on. There's
Yeah.
I go, okay, I can read everything that's happening right now.
Yeah.
It's okay. And then all of them are gone. And I'm like, there you go. There's the humanness. There's the true raw, there's you.
Yeah.
Right? The rest with a mask that society said and your parents said and school said and your first boyfriend or your first girlfriend, like, this part of you safe, this part of you safe, this part of you safe, be more of this, be less of this. And for me, the most beautiful moment in all this healing is when somebody comes back to being a human, as you said.
Yeah.
Seeing that in group work is beautiful because it's like, whoa, you're not only back to being a human, you're celebrating your humanness with other humans who are celebrating at the same time. That is, to me, the most healing energy that exists.
Yeah. Because
you're not only feeling who you are in your body, you're seeing through a mirror other people's, the guy who came in with this mask and he's like, I'm going to be this guy when I walk in, or the girl who came in, I'm going to be this girl when I walk in. And it's gone. The egoic identities are gone. For me, that's the most powerful medicine. Absolutely. However routes get us there, it could be breathing, it could be dancing, it could be sex, it could be anything. It could be all those things. It could be theater.
Yeah.
My God, whatever it is that moves people enough to come back to that is like, yeah. And we're speaking the same language here.
Yeah.
So I wanted to, in the beginning of the show, we were talking before we went on air about a little bit of anxiety, and people are suffering with anxiety. So I wanted to switch gears as we go from the humanist and the authenticity into the piece about anxiety, because a lot of people, they'll DM me or they'll be like, do a show on anxiety, but I love to see it from your lens. A lot of people suffer with future. Am I going to do this? I'm worried about this. And it's debilitating, and it looks in different ways, like these avoidance or the anxious or even addictions. What drives anxiety in your eyes? And how do we start getting past anxiety without going, I need the Xanax, benzodiazepines, even the supplements that temper my anxiety? What do we do with that anxiety as far as nervous system and body point of view?
Yeah, I look at anxiety, depression. I look at all symptoms in a way. Symptoms are actually your greatest friend. Like anytime the body is communicating something, like there's a pain here, or if it's on more of an emotional level or a stress level like anxiety, it's a bubbling up of something. There's something bubbling up, and you are an expression vessel. Your body naturally wants to move things through you. And a lot of times anxiety is something wants to bubble up. It's that felt sensation of like, oh, it's coming up again. And I want to, okay, let me just push it back down. Let me take a pill. Let me drink alcohol or go have sex or do something to get it to go back down. When really that anxiety is an invitation. Something's coming up saying, hey, you're doing something that's not in alignment. That's not good either for your body or your emotions or your soul. For me, biology and spirituality are synonymous. I think until we realize that, we're gonna have some issues. But something is being communicated through your system, that there's a pattern that you're doing, there's a relationship that you're in, there's a career that you're in, there's probably something to do with a massive life choice that you're not looking at, and you're continuing to push it down, and it's scary, and you actually need to face it. And it wants to move through you. It's not that. And I see people that put this label or this diagnosis on themselves in a way, like, I am an angry person or I am an anxious person.
Yeah.
Where it's like, the only people that are experiencing that are the people that are not letting themselves actually feel it. Because when you feel it, it moves through you. It's not the people that have a healthy expression of anxiety or anger are the people that are angry people. It's the people that haven't let themselves actually feel it, haven't let it come up and move through them because it's been pushed down, it's harbored, and it starts to create dis-ease. It starts to densify and calcify into this dis-ease of something that wants to move through you. And so it might be the scariest thing for you to allow it to come up and move through you and allow it to deeply listen to what it's telling you. But it'll be the most powerful thing you've ever done.
Yeah.
It's the body asking you, listen, something is not in alignment with me right now. And most of the time when it's anxiety and depression, it has something to do with a bigger thing going on, a bigger thing in your life.
In that light, shouldn't this be the most important lesson we can learn in school?
Yeah.
Shouldn't this be taught every single year for 12 years until we graduate?
I'll give you another example. Like, we can take a look at the collective sort of opioid epidemic, or even alcohol, or whatever numbing agent, Xanax, whatever it is. If I'm working a job, a 9-to-5 job in a call center where my boss is just a dick and it's a soul-sucking job and it's not in alignment with my spirit, I'd rather be out there dancing or creating art or whatever it is. But I'm like, I need to stay in this job because I need the money. I probably am going to want something to numb me from the pain of my existence. I'm probably going to want to drink alcohol or to take opiates or to have sex or whatever it is to numb me from the pain of this 9-to-5 job that is soul sucking. But that act of numbing myself is going to keep me in the same position. It's going to keep me in that 9-to-5 job. If I actually let myself feel the pain of my existence, I'm probably not going to want to stay in that job anymore. If I actually take a moment, strip all the things away, all the coping mechanisms, be with myself as uncomfortable as it is, and feel the actual pain of my existence, it's probably going to become the catalyst for me to make a rapid change in my life.
Yeah. And that's the cycle we're in from moving away from that. Because ultimately, it's easier to drink alcohol or have sex or be addicted to something than sit with yourself in that pain.
Numbness is an active process. Think about this for a second. To maintain a state of numb, it's an active process, meaning it takes energy from me to maintain a state of numb. Because our somatic sensation, or our senses in general, we are born into this world, we feel everything. That's our natural state, is to feel, is to feel everything. And so through societal impressions and cultural patterning and, traumas and stressors, we learn to suppress and numb parts of ourself, cut parts of ourself off, dissociate from parts of ourself. And it actually takes energy from our system. It takes more energy to push it down than it does to actually let myself feel it. And that energy could be utilized towards the digestion of my food, to the repairing of my cells. That energy could be utilized towards my soul's expression. It takes more energy to push something down. And, if we look at this from just a straight bodywork perspective, there's this concept called parasitic tension. Most of us have parasitic tension within our body. Like, if you're listening to this, you might not even notice it because it's become that new normal for you, but the body's a reflection of the emotions and spirit and all of those things. So if you have tension in your neck and shoulders up here, which everyone does, it takes energy, it takes nervous system energy to contract a muscle. So if those muscles are chronically contract, it's parasitic to your nature. Yeah. It takes energy from your system to maintain the contraction of those muscles. And that energy could be utilized towards something else, towards the repairing of your body. Yeah. The same thing happens on an emotional level. We have parasitic tension emotionally. It takes more energy from our system to push it down. And that actually drains us. It drains us to maintain that state of numb because it's an active process, because feeling and sensing is our natural state. And to be honest with you, like that book by Gabor Mate, The Myth of Normal, just that statement is so powerful because most of our defense systems are a normal response to an abnormal environment. Yeah. We can't measure ourselves without the environment. And that's why I think it's so powerful working with other people, but also looking at the environments that you're in as well. Because and the patterns, the societal patterns as well. Like, let's look at the body on another physical level. If I'm sitting in a chair all day, my hips are going to get tight. Like, I'm going to have tension in my hips. And that tension in my hips, it's a very normal response to an abnormal environment. Mm-hmm. It's a very normal response to sitting in a chair. My body wasn't designed to sit in a chair. The same thing happens with our emotional wounding as well. Mm. Most of our emotional wounding is a very normal response to an abnormal environment. And though it probably isn't our fault that we went through whatever we went through, but it is our responsibility to work through it. Mm-hmm. I feel that deeply.
Yeah, and I do too. It is our responsibility. I mean, at least if we want to expand, if we want to have children who are healthy and free children, and it's sort of our responsibility at some point, because all of us has gone through shit, just depending on the spectrum how dramatic it was. But still, we have stuff, and it's our responsibility to unfold that. Why do you think then we run away so much from confronting the pain, and we'd rather go through an active process of numbing? Is it that painful when we're with ourselves and let that express?
I don't think we've been given the tools from a young age.
Right. So we have no idea what to do.
Our parents never taught us this. Our schools never taught us this. And so it's part of it is our resource. Like, how resourced are you? Most of us are not very resourced. I go look at my parents, and although they might have some years on me, the level of resource and tools that they have is not there. And part of it's not necessarily their fault. But the thing is, the more years you spend, the more you get hammered into your ways, the harder it becomes. Mm-hmm. Because then a lot of times that healing moment can be super painful, because you have to look back at your life and be like, well, I spent 20 years like this. Yeah. That was 20 years wasted. Yeah. That was 20 years of me not living at my highest self. Yeah. And so that can be really painful to admit to yourself that I've spent all this time in this state. But it's better to do it now than it is to not. I mean, I do meet a lot of older people that are like, yeah, I'd rather just live the rest of my life just pushing it down. I don't really want to go inward. Yeah. And that's unfortunate because it does get passed on. The youth is our future. And as humans, we learn to co-regulate first before we learn self-regulation. And our co-regulation skills get developed by whatever we're co-regulating to first. And then we're going to learn how to self-regulate from that place. I use the example of, like, if you're on an airplane, say that's the first time you're on an airplane, never been on an airplane before. And you're sitting there in the airplane, and the airplane starts to experience a ton of turbulence, and you've never experienced this before, and you're like, oh shit, are we going down? And you look around, and everyone else is just calm, relaxed, chill, and you're like, oh, this must be okay. Okay, I guess I can relax. Mm-hmm. And so we learn to co-regulate to others. And if we had parents, if we had whoever the village that we were around during our upbringing, if they weren't in a regulated state, then it's going to be really hard for us to learn safe relating in our relationship, in our community, learning the tools and resources, how to self-regulate ourselves as well. Mm-hmm. And so I do believe that, like I said, the youth is our future, and we have the opportunity to become that transitional character that's talked about. The transitional character is the person along a lineage who finds a way to transmute whatever poison, whatever patterns that were passed down, and refuse to pass it down to the future. You become that moment in time, that person in the lineage that says, I'm not going to pass this down. Mm. And I do have to really thank my parents, even though they struggled with so much addiction and pain and depression. They allowed me to become. They said, you can succeed at anything. Just don't do what we did. Right. They didn't put any religion on me saying, you have to believe this or you're going to hell. You need to dress this way or people are going to think this about you. You need to go to this school. You need to become a doctor, a lawyer, whatever. They didn't put any of those pressures on me. And what that did was that allowed me to become sensitive in myself and to figure it out for myself and to have my own experience. So I work with a lot of people that have had these very, it could look like a beautiful upbringing, but with parents that forced these different ideologies, these different beliefs, these ways of being that people spend 10, 20 years after school realizing they lived a life that their parents wanted for them and they don't actually know what they want. And that can become incredibly painful.
Incredibly painful, because I know very specific people in my life who have expressed that in the way they just show up in the world. These are just pieces of parental impressions throughout their life.
Yeah.
It's difficult because that is the normal, right? We have all of these pieces of, like you said, religion and all of our anxieties as parents, what we learned from our parents and what we saw was safe and normal. And then the way that we think the world is, the world that we've created in our heads, the way they think, this is the only way to be in this world that is blank because this is my experience in the world. But it doesn't have to be. So your parents, to me, opened a space for you to be a free child.
They did.
Free child. And then ultimately,
it's the greatest gift.
You going through your experience and, becoming what you have become.
Yeah.
Which is what a beautiful thing, man. Okay, so we are running short on time.
It's okay.
But you hold, I want you to tell the audience, because there's a lot of practitioners, chiropractors, what is it that you're doing?
Yeah.
And how do people find you? And what are the plans upcoming? You and I, we're going to plan an event. So everyone stay tuned on that. We're going to chat more on that. But where can we find you?
Yeah, so I basically created a modality. It's called Somatic Breathwork. Now it's beyond breathwork because it's a continuing education program for practitioners. Now, we have a lot of people coming from the mind route where we have, clinical psychologists and coaches and mindset workers and people from the mind route. We have a lot of physical practitioners, naturopaths, chiropractors, physical therapists, yoga teachers, body workers, coming to learn this modality for not just emotional release, but that's the thing. A lot of people, emotional release is becoming really popular.
Yeah.
And it's so powerful because we've been so suppressed, but it's never about the release. It's about the space that's created for you to bring in how you want to show up.
For sure.
How you want to feel. And so it's a modality that you can add on to your existing practice, however you're working with your clients. We teach group sessions, one-on-one sessions. We have online trainings, in-person trainings. Most of our in-person trainings are based out of Austin, but we have upcoming online course coming up very soon here in July. We have, at this point, over 1,000 practitioners worldwide doing sessions in a multitude of different languages. So if you feel called, you can check us out at somaticbreathwork.com, Instagram, YouTube, all the different spots.
Yeah, powerful stuff. If you want to learn the somatic modality, to up level whatever you're doing in your practice, which I promise you it'll up level. Yeah, go check it out. And stay tuned because we're going to do a dope event coming soon. It's in the blueprint phase. We're going to do a dope event. Thank you so much, man. The wisdom is beyond your years. And it's beautiful that you're bringing this to the world. The power of really deep nervous system regulation, emotions, and ultimately the humanness. Which is what I, as a doctor, agree, as a human agree, and every single part of me, all these identities, I agree, man. This is what we need in this world, and I love that you're bringing it to all of us. Thank you so much for coming on the show, dropping the wisdom, dropping the gems. I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, thank you so much, brother. You truly are a pillar of all that, and it's an absolute honor. I'm excited for our event.